Before I go into the tapes themselves, I would like to give a bit of a backstory to the history of this, because it's kind of weird, because this was coming out around the same time as the original Disney classics were coming out. The Disney sing-along songs were sort of a happy compromise between releasing the original films on video as opposed to just releasing parts of them out on video, which Disney had been doing for a long time. But it was they sort of wanted it to be a happy compromise where some people would have wanted Snow White and Cinderella and Peter Pan and the Jungle Book. They would have wanted them all out on video immediately. In the case of the sing-along songs, it was more of like those, oh, we just wanted it for the music. So instead of having all the songs and the movies all in one package, it was, oh, well, look at this. You got Hi-Ho here. That should make you happy. But on top of some of the other things, there are some edits that were done to later variants of these sing-along songs. In case you were wondering, the Hi-Ho is the 1993 edition, which means a couple of the songs, or one or two of the songs, have been removed. Now, Hi-Ho, which is the first one we're going to be looking at, was released with basically a handful of different versions of the original title. So for the first edition of this was actually supposed to be the second volume of the sing-along songs collection, but then of course they flipped it around to make Snow White more or less the focal point and make her the first part of the sing-alongs collection, because Zippity-Doo-Dah, which we'll be looking at next, was actually the first in the series. But for the sake of argument, we're going to be taking a look at Hi-Ho first. This was the second one, but it is technically labeled Volume 1 in this second edition series. And the songs included on it include Hi-Ho, Up, Down, Touch the Ground, Hi Diddly Dee, The Dwarf's Yodel Song, A Cowboy Needs a Horse, The Three Caballeros, the theme from Zorro, the Siamese Cat Song, and Let's Go Fly a Kite. Now, if you're wondering why there were no modern Disney songs on this one, that's because when this originally came out, it was 1987. And The Great Mouse Detective at that point was the most modern Disney sing-along song that was out there. So, unfortunately, we just weren't cool enough to have it. And this is one of the later prints, so October 13th, 1993. In 1994, they would remove the Siamese Cat Song from here, and it would basically just be a much shorter version of the original. And in the original cut of this, they had the song Yo Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me from Pirates of the Caribbean on here. Unfortunately, they removed it, and I'm not particularly sure why. But hey, what you gonna do? The sing-along songs weren't really mega hits in terms of sales, but it was doing Disney enough business to kind of prolong the need to release films on video, especially considering one of these was never released on video to begin with. That being Song of the South and Zippity-Doo-Dah. And by never released on video, I mean in the United States. I know worldwide it has seen release, but not in the United States, unfortunately. Now, Zippity-Doo-Dah was the original of the releases, as it has basically more of the classic Disney songs than Hi-Ho did. So, for example, you have the Mickey Mouse March, Zippity-Doo-Dah, Following the Leader, It's a Small World, the Unbirthday Song, Bippity-Boppity-Boo, Casey Jr., The Ballad of Davy Crockett, Give a Little Whistle, and Whistle While You Work. Now, this was sort of the pilot to the Disney sing-along series, so they wanted to put out as many of the good songs as they could without overly saturating the series, so they can release more and more titles as they went on. Because this was the pilot series, one of the things that's interesting is it's one of the few of the original 12 that doesn't really have a message or a moral behind it, or like a theme to it. Like Hi-Ho, for example, the theme was melodies. So, for example, it was all about singing and changing pitches and music, and just getting, in general, just having fun with, well, I almost said fun with music, but that is one of the ones here. But Zippity-Doo-Dah does not really have a theme about it. It's more or less just classic Disney songs for a new age, or for the same age, or I don't know. Shut up. And this was, come on, focus. There you go. December 4th, 1993. Now, this is the only one of the original Disney sing-alongs that we owned growing up. Well, that we still have from when we originally lived. Actually, dating back to the point when my parents were still married, we ended up having 4 or 5 of the Disney sing-alongs. I don't remember which ones, but Zippity-Doo-Dah and Hi-Ho were 2 of them. And this is the only one from that original group that's still here, which is very happy days for me, you know. This one's a good one. I enjoy this one. It's about as prototypical a classic song thing as you can get. On to Volume 3, which was technically the 4th volume released before they decided to rearrange everything around the time, I think Disneyland Fun came out, was when they rearranged everything. Or maybe it was Under the Sea, I don't know. Either way, this was technically the 4th one. And another thing wow, I'm going all over the place here. The reason why Zippity-Doo-Dah was the first one was because they wanted to capitalize on the 50th anniversary, or the 40th anniversary of Song of the South, which was released in 1946. Hi-Ho was released a year later to capitalize on the 50th anniversary of Snow White. The Bare Necessities was released in 1987 as well to capitalize on the 20th anniversary of The Jungle Book. And Peter Pan was released to capitalize on the 35th anniversary of Peter Pan. You Can Fly is one that I've probably not seen much of, and it's mostly because I just never really been a big fan of Peter Pan, as many of you know. And it's also been one of those ones that's a little bit trickier to find than the other ones. It's weird. The theme to this one is traveling around the world and music from around the world. As you can see, we got a sticker label, so this one's one of the older ones. I'm not even sure if it has a print date, and it does not. It's one of those super old ones. I mean, look at that. Look at that. That was the old school Disney sing-along logo. And we're going to put you back down over there so I can focus on you because you have the pictures on them. The songs included in this one range from pretty much most of the known world that Disney had made movies of at the time. You have You Can Fly, The Beautiful Briny Sea, Colonel Hattie's March, I Got No Strings, Little Black Rain Cloud, Merrily on Our Way, He's a Tramp, Step in Time, and When I See an Elephant Fly. Now, they're missing a pretty big chunk of the world there. That's basically only covered whatever was captured by the British Empire or the United States at that point, so it's a little weird there. No France, no Germany, no nothing of those kinds at least. But this one's a pretty decent one. Not one of my favorites, but hey, if you like Peter Pan, I'm sure it'll do for you. Volume 4, which was technically the 3rd one released, is The Bare Necessities. Now, you guys know me. I have a pretty nifty affinity for the Jungle Book, so naturally, this was one that I used to watch all the time, even though we never owned it. Now, so the songs included in here include, for the first time in the series, some of the songs that were not technically released from movies. This was when we started to introduce stuff from the Disneyland and the Mickey Mouse Club TV shows that were airing in the 50s and 60s. And the theme for this one, as you can imagine, was animals. Or animals and the jungles and nature and all that. So we have The Bare Necessities, You Are a Human Animal, the Cinderella Work Song, which was the mice song, Cinderella, Cinderella, the Old Yeller theme, Figaro and Cleo, Winnie the Pooh, I Want to Be Like You, Look Out for Mr. Stork, Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, and The Ugly Bug Ball. Unlike Peter Pan, it actually covers a pretty wide variety of animals, except for the seafaring animals, but we'll worry about that when we get to Under the Sea. Now, this, I think, is another one of those... Oh, no, it's not. It does have a sticker label, but it has the original, or has the second edition of the font and releases and stuff. That's interesting. October 21st, 1991, so roughly around the time Fantasia was released on video. Now, those are the first 4 editions in the Disney Sing-Along canon, and in the next part, we will be taking a look at volumes 5 through 8, including Fun with Music, Disneyland Fun, Under the Sea, and Very Merry Christmas songs. Until then, stay classy, YouTube.